I show some kind of a 60mm loop, actually. And this loop was made in a school where I did some kind of lesson. I followed lessons to make 60mm animations. Yeah. So what you see is actually a copy, a proof to see what the images, what I can do with the images. So this is not a work. It's just an accumulation of little proofs of is it possible to make animations with these images that I produced in the Laboratory of Artificial Intelligence in Brussels. Actually, I didn't make them with artificial intelligence, but it's a fact that in the early 80s, there were no computers that were as an artist you could use to make drawings, you see? And the man who started the first laboratory of artificial intelligence on the mainland here in Europe was a friend of mine. He doctorated then, he did his doctorate on a computer simulation of a translation machine, of a parser. And since we spoke with each other, with this group of people already for 3-4 years about what we were doing. They were following what also. I've always been interested in technique and so I made drawings of things, of machines and everything, very loose, coming from my subconscious actually, but just as some kind of a record on my life, daily life. And he, Luc, he's called Luc Steels, he asked me, can you maybe, because it's very dry matter, and people of the jury, they won't like know what I'm talking about in a computer simulation of a translation machine. Can you maybe make drawings of these, of the steps in my inquiry? And I did it, you know, and there was no laboratory of artificial intelligence at that moment. And actually we were then still speaking about knowledge representation. Yeah, we did a film together. And then afterwards, when he doctorated, he went to MIT. I visited him there. And then 2-3 years later, he started this laboratory of artificial intelligence actually the drawings that I was making, they looked already like made of a computer, you know? Because I had this rotring pen on very soft paper, anyway. And he invited me immediately from the moment he had these machines there. There is a mouse that you can draw with, because it was very new. In the beginning, we have been laughing in the beginning, of course, that it looked, it was a very thick and easy, it was not very, yes, and it was not artist friendly, I have to say, because you will see these images, the images that I made were very thick and rough, because every kind of line that they were exploring had the name of a different scientist, the one that was actually inventing it at the moment, you know. So when you wanted to make some kind of a drawing, you had to remember this straight line is called this, anyway. And what I started to do is immediately I made 2 faces. I made drawings of 2 faces, I remember. And immediately after that, I did all kinds of drawings, all kinds of things. But in the beginning, the first thing I did was actually, I made drawings for striptease. Yeah, why striptease? That's a good question. Because, you know, this laboratory, it was a very dry place. And I think I had this impulse to bring all this. I have a very big collection of soft porn magazines from 50s, 60s. And that was really what triggered my career as an artist then. Everything that I made at that moment was actually inspired by it. So I took these. Because actually in 77, Luc Steels gave me a book on artificial intelligence. And one of the steps of the investigations, there was some kind of an the 16th chapter in the book, the last chapter in the book. I will show it tomorrow at the symposium. They had as an example Adam and Eve was presented there as a sinner. You know, in this, it's really very weird, you know, and like this is Adam in paradise, anyway, and then Eve as the sinner. And I think that still was in the back of my mind. There was this it was, especially in Belgium, I don't know how it was in these areas, but there was a consensus that that women were not supposed first to be artists and never could be good artists, you know? And this was very, very, it didn't frustrate me, it made me angry. And then I came into this laboratory, and which there were at the moment also when I came in as much women as men. There was no problem of being a woman or a man. Of course, it was a very fresh area in society for investigation, the future, and this was much more interesting for me as an artist to work from the area of the plastic art, especially in Belgium, because I think it was more in Europe also, because art was in 81, 82 until 88, 80. Everything was art, about thinking about art, you know. And what they did was intelligence, thinking about creativity, intelligence thinking about thinking. And that, of course, that was so interesting to read these books, to read the steps that they were taking. They were investigating what is psychology about, what is philosophy about, what is the meaning of meaning, and what is the interest in what is intelligence, and what's the connection between intelligence and language. And at that moment, still, it was very much the focus on we are so intelligent as human beings because we have our language. But in this investigation, this route, this parcours in investigations was stopped around 87, 88 because they were blocked, because they never could make intelligence machine coming out of language, you know, because the fact that we are so intelligent comes actually from the fact that our society, that we are so many, and that our social intercourse is so so complex. So for a short while they got rid of this idea of artificial intelligence. They called it artificial life. But then in the 90s, they started to use the term artificial intelligence again. But it's actually while building robots in a certain circumstance with different characters even that have to generate language. That's how they start to make sounds that there's a consensus about, and that is language, and that generates actually, and that's what's happening now in artificial intelligence too. Yes, but I don't of course, I don't understand this scariness about it, because it's all around already for 20 years. You know, it's helping us actually. It's making systems more reliable and also more simple in like making shortcuts in handling things. But yeah, of course I'm following it, but I don't. Of course, when I was I was much more positive about the future and everything in the 80s. I don't. Of course, these artificial intelligence tools. It's a normal. I think it's normal because it's a normal evolution. It's a tool that it came out of the air. It's just a technique that we need to be able to handle the world.